What's up, everybody, and welcome to an all-new episode of Casters of Horror. I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane, and this week we take on the serial killer, Longlegs.
Yes. This film was written and directed by Osgood Perkins, or Oswald Perkins, sorry, who also did films such as Gretel and Hansel, I Am the Pretty One That Lives in the House, and The Black Coat's Daughter. It stars, I don't even want to say it stars Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is in it.
He is technically in it.
Yes. Micah Monroe, who you guys might know from It Follows, The Watcher, Micah, It Follows, and some other films. Blair Underwood. The great Blair Underwood. And
Yes.
Alicia Witt is also in it. And of course, Nicolas Cage, Mr. Longlegs himself in this film, who does an incredible job, by the way.
Absolutely.
Incredible. But
yeah, at this point, I think, this is one of those that was marketed just by saying, oh, Nick Cage is going to dress up in a crazy outfit. And
yeah. Nick Cage in a horror film, and everybody's like, oh, I'm there.
Yep.
I'm going.
Man,
Yeah. This has been talked up as one of the biggest horror films of the year. I mean, it really, according to most critics and everything, could do no wrong, it seemed, when it came out. And we'll get into if they were right or if they were wrong in this, who cares what we think? Anyway, this film just recently came to digital, so you guys can check it out on there. It's not only in theaters anymore. You can also check it out on digital. That's how I ended up checking it out. It had been one that I had been wanting to see, just never came anywhere close to me. Because I live out in the middle of nowhere, little nowhere, Texas. But yeah, Longlegs. So this is a story about an FBI agent who basically gets put onto this case. The FBI agent's played by Micah Monroe. She gets put onto this case because she's kind of, as he called it, half psychic. I don't care, whatever. You got it figured out. So anyway, she was able to figure out, catch on very, very quickly to what killers may be doing. She has a sixth sense in a way about her. I think it's just somewhere on the spectrum, and the way that she played it. I'm not gonna mince words on that one. I can say it. I'm on there. Somewhere I'm on there.
Well, the truth though is, like, I'm not sure they actually explicitly confirm, one way or the other. So you might actually be onto something.
Oh yeah, no, she very much plays a very autistic character, someone on the spectrum, and I found her ability to portray her character very, very well. I thought she did.
The acting in general in this movie is very, very good.
Oh yeah. But anyway, she's on the case to find Longlegs, the serial killer who's been attacking families that have young girls who have birthdays on the 14th of different months and things like that. And they're trying to figure out what the connection is, and that's why she's brought in to help on this. Did I cover most of it? Like, the whole families are dying, not just the kids. It's not like the girls are disappearing and stuff like that. It's like the whole families are being murdered, and there's no evidence of Longlegs even being around except for a note left behind.
Yeah, leaves like some sort of note, a cryptic, thing. And I think at one point they say, no, like in every case, it's basically like the dad's doing it.
Yeah. So it's. Now, this one to me was a little more thriller than horror, I would say. There was the some gore aspects to it.
Mm.
It may have dabbled in the horror aspects a little bit towards the end. To me, it was more thriller like.
You know what it was
Personally,
to me? It reminded me a lot, and I actually think this was probably intentional. It reminded me a lot of the sort of '90s like dark mysteries. You know, like something like the Silence of the Lambs or
yes, yeah,
um,
yeah,
like Kiss the Girls.
yep.
You know, Bone
Also part of
Collector.
the yeah, Bone
Those sort of
Collector,
things.
yeah,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
those sort of movies like had a vibe to them,
Hmm.
oh, and I suspect I don't think it's actually made clear, but I did notice it in the background in one scene. There's a picture of Bill Clinton on the wall,
Yes,
and so I'm like, oh, so actually maybe this takes place during that time too.
takes place somewhere during the 90s, somewhere
Mhm.
in there.
Yeah.
Set in Oregon. They mentioned the Mariners at one point. Go Mariners.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, which I mean, it's a Seattle team, but close to Oregon. Oregon didn't have their own team at that time. Still don't. But and I was like, "Is this set in Seattle?" And they're like, "No, this is Oregon." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um, yeah, I digress. But anyway, so yeah, Micah Monroe did a phenomenal job acting in this.
Mhm.
Blair Underwood as her boss, basically, fellow
Yeah.
agent, but more so like her boss,
Yeah.
or her superior. And Nick, like you were saying, everybody in this did a phenomenal job
Yeah.
acting.
Yeah. Very,
Um,
very well done.
yeah. But again, yeah, like you were saying, it does fall to me. It fell into that thriller category
Huh.
more so than the horror aspects of it. It dabbles a little bit more into that towards the end of the horror aspects, and I won't go into it because I don't want to
Mm.
spoil it for anybody.
Yeah.
But
Now, see,
um,
I don't think I would say it necessarily that it's not horror. Um, what I will say is it's not scary, right? One of the things we've heard played up is that this is the scariest film of the year. Okay,
correct.
this film is not scary. Now,
No.
I'm not saying that a horror film has to be scary. I don't think that's true. I think a horror film has to horrify you. And this movie definitely has, in fact, I would say almost the entire runtime is very uncomfortable, right?
Okay.
There's this sense of foreboding, you
Ooh,
know,
good use of that word.
there's, I mean, well, like, how so many horror films you're sitting there and you're like, you're waiting. You feel like it's building up to something and you're waiting and you're
Mm-hmm.
waiting and you're waiting.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with this film, you keep waiting because it keeps that tension high throughout, like the whole, there's almost no period where you don't feel, or at least for me, where I didn't feel on edge.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So in that sense, like, yeah, I think it's a horror film. It's
Yeah.
just as long as you're not going in expecting to be like scared, terrified.
Yeah, yeah, and I think a lot of people in general now think of horror films as something like a Terrifier
Yeah.
or even Aliens, like what we reviewed last week.
Mm.
Where you've got these big scares and jump scares, or even a smile. Something like
Yeah.
that, where you've got these monster like things, and
Mm.
this is a subtle monster, I
Oh
guess, is
yes.
what you would say. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um overall, what did you think? What did you think of this film? Does it live up to the expectations? I've heard a few people lately on Twitter or X or should be thrown out, um saying how they were like, "Oh, best horror of the year. What are you talking about?" Um, and they're like, "I've seen better." What What are your thoughts? What are your
Uh,
thoughts on this one?
my thoughts are if you can go into this film with as little information as possible, you should do that.
Very much so. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
And that includes any information you might get from watching a review like ours,
Yeah.
even non-spoilery as it is.
Don't watch our episode.
Don't watch this episode.
Yeah.
Um, I would say ultimately, I really did like this one, if only because it does really have that sense of unease that I expected from films like this, these sort of mystery thrillers, crime dramas,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
from 20, 30 years ago or whatever. Um, and like we had said, the acting is fantastic. There's very little about this film that I think doesn't work.
Yeah. I would say this is close and akin to the Black Phone in a way, as far as
Yes,
that
yes,
type of thriller. I think
yes,
that that's probably the closest type of thing that I could place it to in recent years.
yeah, yeah. I would agree. Yeah, it's definitely more of that type of film than that what people might usually say is horror,
Yeah.
but for what it is, I think it works really well. If I have any complaints at all, really, it's um, I don't necessarily think I don't think it earns its ending. Right there is kind of an info dump near the end, and
Yeah.
then it
I do agree on that.
and then it's just kind of over. Um, but as far as the characters or whatever, I think their stories play out fairly well. I don't think Nicky Cage was utilized enough,
Yeah.
right? I mean, for when he was in it, he was fantastic. I would have liked to have seen more of him. I
Oh, it
feel
would have
like,
been great.
yeah. I mean, his character is terrifying, right?
Oh yeah,
But
if you met that guy in real life, you'd be like,
yeah,
"Get me out of
yeah,
here."
his character is terrifying, and yet I don't feel like he was on screen enough to really terrify you,
See,
right?
it almost works really well like that. I think if we would have
Mhm.
gotten used to seeing him on the screen, it would have kind of his character and the mystery behind what he is and who he is and all that sort of, I think it would have kind of fallen apart.
Yeah, you might be right. I mean, I guess too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So
Hmm.
I'm not saying that I wanted him to have a ton of screen time where he was the central character. I just think I would have liked to have seen the build up to his reveal, or what he is doing, maybe a little bit more, because I don't really feel like you get very much of him, honestly.
Yeah.
But no, I
I
mean, I don't know.
see. I could see like a second film, like Longlegs origin type thing, and
Yeah,
kind of I could see it. I could see it happening,
yeah,
and them going into more of the backstory.
yeah,
I could see it. It's
yeah.
Hollywood.
There, there is something else I want to cover as far as like where this movie stands versus the hype. But before we
Okay.
get there, before we get there, I want to know, what about you? What was your take on this one?
Um, it's kind of weird. I went into this thing not wanting to watch it in a way. Like I
Mhm.
wanted to see it. Like really bad. I wanted to see it. But
Yeah.
like I was just like, "Oh, I'm not in the mood to watch it right now. I got to watch it for we got to get it for the episode and all this sort of stuff." I was like, "Oh man, am I in the mood? Am I in the headspace to watch this kind of a heavy film
Uh-huh.
right now?" And I'm so glad that I did.
Yeah.
Um because this movie has made it into my top 5 for the year.
Uh-huh.
Um I do think personally that um I think that the marketing was really really well done on it. Um
Agreed.
I
Yes.
think that the acting was really really good. The hype on it for I think the hype was a little misdirected at times,
Agreed.
but all in all, extremely brilliant film.
Uh-huh.
Um, I mean, I didn't even mind the info dump at the end because I think from the source where we get the info dump makes sense at that point.
Yes.
For that specific character. Um,
Yeah.
And had it been somebody else, I don't think it would have made sense. But being the character that we get the info dump from makes really good sense to me.
Yeah, and I should interject real quick. When I say info dump, I'm not talking like on the level of something like what Baghead did, which is which seemed to give the entire backstory of everything that was
Yes.
happening and crammed it in there. This
Yeah.
wasn't info dump, but it wasn't a long drawn out one.
Baghead was like, let me see here.
Yeah,
Page 1.
yeah, exactly.
Here's what happened in all the history of Baghead.
Yeah, it was not like that.
No,
Right.
no. I thought it was brilliant.
Mhm.
I thought it was really, really well done. It's definitely one of those films that I'm going to be thinking about a lot. Where it fits in my top 5, I don't know yet, especially coming off the high that I had from Alien Romulus.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. It's hard to say which one is. I don't know, because I really had this hype. Alien Romulus to me was just fun,
Mhm.
but Longlegs was just this mind warp of a brilliant film. So it's
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see where this one fits in my top 5 at the end of the year.
Yeah, because whereas a film like Alien Romulus was frenetic and fun, this film was slow, but unlike some of the other slow films we've watched, this one actually benefits from that.
Yeah, I didn't sit and look at this one and go, how much longer is this
No,
one?
no, me neither. This
No,
this was a very it
it was well
felt
paced.
it's intentional, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Right.
The pacing
Um,
was good for as slow and methodical as it was.
Methodical is a fantastic word. Yes. Yeah, that's I would totally agree with that. As far as the hype, this is something I can't fault the movie for, obviously, right? What I will say is, and the reason I think that you should watch this without, if you can, without seeing any of the hype around it,
Mm-hmm.
is because I really feel like the hype around this film is a great example of people just trying to get like their quotes out there in
Yeah,
the trailers or
yeah.
on sites or something.
There was definitely a bandwagon with this one.
Yes, definitely. This movie had the same level of hype that something like Barbarian did, except for this movie's actually good,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I just find that to be incredibly annoying because now whenever I see a film that gets like really, really hyped, I'm like, okay. So, and I think that's one is worth a watch. I just think that if you are listening to the hype, you're going to go into this movie and get something completely different from what you were expecting.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. I agree. It's not the horror that you think it is. It's
the horror that you need.
it's wow. It's like
I don't
it's
know.
the Batman of horror. It's just like it's not the horror that we wanted. It's the horror we deserved. But anyway, let us know what you guys thought of Longlegs. Have you guys checked it out yet? What are you guys thinking about it? Are you put off by the hype? If you are put off by the hype, go watch it because it's nothing like the hype. I thought it was even better. So go check it out. Don't watch this episode. It's a little late to say that now.
No, let's say that. Don't watch this episode. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'm Christmas. Yeah, go check it out. It's on digital now. You guys can check it out on there. Let us know what you guys think. Put it down in the comments down below. And while you're there, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It's that big red button down below. If you didn't already know that. The like button's the thumbs up. So
Ding.
this is the wrong one. But
you know
anyway,
what? Hit that one too. Helps us in the algorithm. I don't care.
Yeah. I'm learning that from my other channel. Chris had a fun week on YouTube.
Yeah.
But anyway, let us know what you guys think. And hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know that we did. Go check it out. It's on digital. And if you guys disagree with our barbarian comment, go check that episode out too, because that's in our playlist.
And make sure to leave us a hate comment on that one too. So.
Yeah, any comments help at this point. So anyway, until next week, until our next review, I'm Chris Mess.
I'm Shane.
Get the hell out of here.
See ya.
We'll see you guys.